Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him. Then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me.
Hi. Como están tarde? Not even close. I did try that. Let's try it like this. Como están tarde? That means good evening somewhere. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's services, visitors from neighboring Chattanooga. We're so glad that you made it with us, members that are here tonight. But I want to do something real quick that I don't think we've done at Hartsville Pike, not since we've started streaming live on the internet. There's a camera here, and a camera there, and a camera in the back, two actually in the back. I would like everybody to stand up and wave at the cameras real quick. We have some of our Nicaraguan friends listening tonight and watching this live on the internet. So everybody stand up, turn around, and wave. There we go. Thank you very much. Lester and his family will get a kick out of that. Somebody else is just tuning in is really going to get a real surprise out of that. So I want to start off by saying thank you. That's the first thing I need to say. Thank you to everyone for your prayers, your words of encouragement, your financial support. I do not want you to walk away from here thinking and seeing what 27 of us or 102 total of us did, and that we're patting ourselves on the back. We could not have been there. We could not have done the work that we do without everybody sitting in this auditorium. 27 from this area joined up with the East Ridge congregation and many other congregations down in Nicaragua. There were 102 total when we got down there, but there were hundreds of us in spirit. It took everybody. When we talk about going and preaching and teaching, there's a lot that goes into that, and it's not just physically going down there, opening up the Bible and saying, hey, everybody, listen to what I've got to say. There's a lot that goes into this. And hopefully tonight I can try to explain it just a little so that you understand what we went through, what we did. It's like someone asked me once before they had children what it's like to have kids, and I said, I can't explain that to you till you have them. When you get them, you'll understand what sleep deprivation means, eating last, if at all, means, the smell, oh my goodness. There are just some things you can't describe to someone until they experience it for themselves. This is the same. I'm going to try to give you a brief glimpse at what we did down in Nicaragua, the best that I can. The other thank you goes to the elders of this congregation and all the congregations that were down there. The elderships do a lot. This is a big responsibility on their part to support this. And I can say from the Hartsville Pike congregation, at all times, the eldership was in front, showing their support to the entire congregation of how important this work is to them, how important they feel the work is down there. Without a good eldership, without good leadership, this also would not have been possible. And I also want to give you an update from last year. Some of you heard me say this once before. Last year, our efforts, we found out 1 year later, the 20 baptisms we had last year, 19 of them are still active members. Not Sunday morning onlys, active members. And that's a good return. Pretty fantastic, actually. Something we really don't see a lot here in the States from that standpoint. But our journey began long before the trip ever started. The trip for me began long before. The trip for everyone else was long before we ever boarded that plane for Nicaragua. And it all starts, if you'll turn your Bibles with me, to Proverbs 22. First, as a child, if you've ever taught a class, vacation Bible school, regular class, been a parent, grandparent, had anything to do with raising a child, affecting a child's life, affecting their soul, would you please stand up? This is also an exercise kind of lesson too, by the way. If you have anything to do with raising children that way, you are responsible for the next generation. You have brought them up. You have raised them. You may sit down. You are responsible for the children. You've taught them. You're teaching them to teach their children, and their children to teach their children, and that's how the church continues to grow. And in Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. That is exactly what you saw when 102 people from different congregations, different ages, I won't give you the age range, Randall would be embarrassed. It's amazing how everyone came together with the same thought, the same focus, the same desire, the same drive, same teachings, same understanding, to do a common thing because they were trained correctly from the beginning. Train them up, and they'll stay that way. We're taught to discover talents given by God. Turn to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew 25, verses 28 through 30. We were taught, we were trained to discover our talents. Starting in verse 28, so take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the darkness, in the places where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. God gave everybody talents. He expected us to use those talents for his service. He expected us to use those talents to serve him. Again, 102 people, 102 different talents coming together for one common purpose. It's amazing what 102 people can do. Turn to Ezekiel. Chapter 3, verses 4 through 9. We take these talents and we use them. We use them with the determination to spread his word. Now, not everybody is a preacher. Not everybody can sit down with the Bible and open it up and preach from the Word. But you have other talents that support that Word that God gave you to use for him. That's what we saw. But in Ezekiel 4, or chapter 3, verses 4 through 9, and he said to me, Son of man, go to the house of Israel and speak with my words to them. For you're not sent to the people of foreign speech and a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of foreign speech and a hard language whose words you cannot understand. Surely if I sent you to such, they would listen to you. But the house of Israel will not be willing to listen to you, for they are not willing to listen to me, because of all the house of Israel have a hard forehead and a stubborn heart. Behold, I have made your face as hard as their faces, and your foreheads as hard as their foreheads. Like emery, harder than flint, have I made your forehead. For them not, nor be dismayed at their looks, for they are a rebellious house. This reminds me more and more of our country when I read this, how hard-headed some people can be. Oftentimes in this country, as we've been reminded this very week, people don't want to listen. Sometimes it's aggravating, and as Christians, it makes it very hard for us to stay focused, to stay determined. When you're in Nicaragua, people down there are looking for something more than a drug, more than a shot. They're not an unhappy people. They're very happy. They have more happiness than we do. It's unbelievable how happy they are. You give one of their children a stick and you have made their year, if not their life, because they'll talk about you forever. But they're willing for hope. Hope for somewhere where there's no sickness, there's no death, there's no sadness. When you start talking to them about these things, they listen. Very intently, they listen. Very happily, they listen. You know, my translator, this is the second year I've worked with her. She's a med student down there in Nicaragua, starting her second year of med school. And she made a statement to me, and I couldn't explain it back to her to help her understand. But she wanted to know how many times we do those type of clinics in the United States. I said, we can't. The look on her face, and I knew what she was thinking. And she said it, she goes, but y'all have freedom. I said, yes, ma'am, we do. But no, we can't do that. Not like what we do here. She never really understood that. And I couldn't, again, unless she comes here, I don't think she'll ever understand it. It's different for them. But they understood what we were doing. They understood it well. And that brings me to my next verse, probably my favorite verse, Isaiah 6:8. Chapter 6, verse 8. And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then I said, here I am, send me. This is where our journey starts. "27 people getting on a plane, some for their first time. Some for their first time out of the state, I think. Some were a little nervous. JD's not here, but he cried last year at this point in time. And he admits it. But 27 people. My fourth year down there, and I can honestly say every year is different for me. Every year I see it a different way. I see something that's different. I talk to somebody that's different. And I was amazed at people's stories. Everybody had a story. And I love just sitting and talking with them. And I'm going to tell you about a few of those stories as we go on tonight. But we're soldiers. Dressed in battle orange, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. Randall appreciates that right there, don't you? There you go. That's right. This is Alan, who's sitting right down here with us tonight from Eastridge, an elder. Alan puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into this to make this possible. He goes to Nicaragua several times a year to make arrangements to buy the medicines that we use, because we buy them from in-country so we don't have to deal with customs. Make arrangements for food, for housing, transportation. Alan and his group put a lot of effort into this. And several people help Alan out as well. Domingo is his contact man down there. If you need anything, Domingo's the guy who can get it for you. He knows somebody that can get it. Domingo's the kind of guy, when we get the clinic set up, we'll look at him and go, we need this. And even if it's a medicine he can't even pronounce, he'll find it. He has a lot of connections and a lot of people, and his heart is bigger than his truck. He drives the same little truck all the time, or big truck all the time, I guess. Soldiers' faces, they're all different. You'll notice the men in the bottom corner are some of our translators and the ministers from down in that area. They put a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's because of these men, the 19 out of 20 that I told you about earlier are still active members. They support each other, they support themselves, and they're all working again with the same cause, the same reason that you and I fight for every day. And they understand and read the Word the same way we do every day. And that's big. That's what makes this whole thing work. Common cause. Look up Romans 8:28. And we know for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. This is what we went down there for. This is why we went. It wasn't to give out medicine. We like to think, Dr. Ryder and I call ourselves the decoys. We're just the ducks sitting in the water. The evangelism team, every day they came back, I'd go to them and go, what were our numbers? How did we do today? What's new? And John Brown was one of them. I told him tonight, I don't have a lot of pictures of the evangelism team because they're always out and always gone. They're gone pretty much from the start of clinic until the gospel meeting at night that we have every night. But this is what we came for right here. This is a brother and sister, if I'm not mistaken, that are now brothers and sisters in Christ with us. Servants. Galatians 1:10. For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Servants. We were all servants. Several of us who have reached our professional side of life, we understand the talents that we're given. And we use those talents for God, whether it's medical, pharmacy, and I'll talk more about pharmacy in a little bit, dental. Should have had you wave because I know Brother Phil's also watching tonight, live streaming in as well. So I won't make you do that again. Anyway. Answering our calling. Answering what God asked us to do. He gave us talents. He expects us to use them for his benefit. That's what we were there for. Now, you'll see Maite sitting down here, and you'll see her sitting with the lady, Miss Karen, and they're working with this little child. This little child had not walked. He's a couple of years old, if I'm not mistaken. Karen works in physical therapy. So she got a piece of cardboard, set it on the ground. And her and the mother, through Maite's translation, were able to help her figure out some exercises to help this little kid start walking. And before she got done with him, he took some steps. Mom hadn't seen that before. She also did this with another child as well. Answering our calling. Naaman's very intent on how to figure out sizes there, I think. I'm not sure what he's... Servants. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. That touched me as well. When you talk about raising your child up in the way they should go, having hungry children helps, and I mean hungry for the word, hungry for what needs to be done, hungry for understanding their role. And one of these children said something to me that week that stuck with me. And I don't know that as an adult we necessarily look at it this way. And she said, I don't look at them as people, I look at them as souls. And I thought, we're supposed to be childlike to get to heaven. That's the attitude we have to have. How often do we look at someone else as a soul versus the person on the outside? By the way, that someone was Irma. Look at 1 Samuel 16. Verses 6 and 7. And when she said that, this is what it reminded me of. When they came, he looked on Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointment is before him. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I've rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. When you see these faces, what do you see? These are the people that we looked at all week. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them, actually. The children, you just want to kind of put them in your pocket and bring them home. So for the evangelism, again, these are the numbers that I was more interested in. These are the numbers that matter. 20 baptisms, 131 Bible studies, nightly adult classes. Every night at the end of clinic, we would have a gospel meeting, and we would have a children's class and an adult class. 641 adults for the week, 578 for the children. And if you could have seen the last night of that children's class, it was in a small building, but they had the building. It was a church, right? It was in the church building. You could not have put one more child in that room. It was crammed. Triage, when they first come in, first thing they're going to do is they're going to get their weight, blood pressures. They triage 2,337 patients, sorry. And that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of people they weighed right there. There's the medical team. We saw 2,222 patients in the clinic. Saw 20 prisoners and 1 cook. Now, for all those men who are married, if you think you know every button your wife has to push, I assure you, until you've been invited to a Nicaraguan prison and you voluntarily go, you haven't found that button yet. She did fine, it was okay, but the chief of police had come and asked us our very first night there. We're getting everything set up for the clinic, and he came and he offered assistance for crowd control. One catch. He wanted all of his prisoners to be treated first, but somebody had to go to the prison to see him. So Dr. Ryder and myself and, where's he at? There he is, Serge Jr. back there. We all went to the prison, Nicaraguan prison. It was pretty. And we treated 20 prisoners and 1 cook. They were going to support us with crowd control, which I don't necessarily know we ever saw, but we did take care of 20 prisoners and 1 cook. The upper picture was a surgery that we wound up doing. This lady had this golf ball sized mass on her front of her arm for 10 years at least. And she couldn't get anybody to take it off for her and wanted to know if we would. We did that surgery on a kitchen table. She could not have been more happy. She cried, her family was there, they cried, but it was a big impact for her, an impact she couldn't get down there. Dental, 197 patients were treated. 48 people had their teeth removed. 109 cleanings and 7 fillings. I still can't get over the 48 teeth extractions. That just sounds painful. Hygiene. This is where we would teach them basic things from bathing to brushing their teeth. Simple things we sometimes take for granted here. Really goes a long way for helping them stop from getting infections and getting sick. But over 2,000 people were educated that week. Pharmacy. This turned out to be this is always kind of a bottleneck area, because once we write the prescriptions, they have to wait till all the prescriptions are pulled and put inside these brown bags, and that kind of takes some time. But over 2,000 prescriptions were filled. Yet pharmacy seemed to have the most fun. I'll get back to them in a minute too. Benevolence. That one picture with all of the clothes stacked up really doesn't do it justice. That room was packed with benevolence. From shirts, pants, shoes, anything you can imagine. Also, beans and rice was involved in that as well too. Over 2,000 families were supported. By the end of the week, there were no clothes left when it was all said and done with. That's why we all took down those extra bags this year, those big, large duffel bags. Special dresses. Any of these look familiar to anybody in here? I forgot how many we actually took, about 300, that actually went in with what Eastridge had brought as well too. But those little girls will prance around in those dresses for a week. I mean, they will come every day to the clinic wearing those little pillowcase dresses all the time. Randall was jealous. Small things. Last year we went down there. There's a place, one of the congregations in San Juan, they hand make this pottery, and we always like to go and get pottery. Right out in front of the church, or the building, there's this large play area that's now covered. And last year we got down there, and all these kids were out there, and we got out there playing soccer with them, with a flat soccer ball. So this year, a few of us decided we were going to make things better. As soon as we got off the bus, they saw this bright blue ball. Kids came from everywhere. And we played soccer with some of these, and they weren't, I mean, you should have seen him going up against Weston Keene. They were up to his kneecaps, running circles around him, by the way. They loved to play that game down there. We played with them for about an hour until I think everybody on our side was about ready to die. But they loved it. We left 2 soccer balls with the minister there in San Juan, and it's his responsibility. If they want to play soccer, they have to come ask him for the soccer balls. So it's something that gets them going and motivated to come back to the congregation. We did have a few fun times while we were there. At the end of the week, we went back to Grenada, and we did actually get to go through the city. We had a pretty good time. Bailey doing a little shopping. Irma is stirring up the crowd with a tennis ball launcher, by the way. There's that pharmacy again. One of our pharmacists fell asleep. The other one thought it was funny to take a picture of him, and somebody took a picture of him taking a picture. I don't understand how pharmacy can do this. They were the jokesters of the week. Again, this was the bottleneck area, but they always found time to go have fun. Now, you've got Batman and Captain America there that were running around with the kids. I don't know if the kids knew who they were or not, but they thought it was great. But they always seemed to have a good time. We did go ziplining one day. That was kind of a treat for everybody. There were monkeys in the trees with us. Now, this is where I want to stop and tell you about one of the stories that I enjoyed hearing about. I love to talk to people about their stories. I wanted to know why they were there and what their background was. And I may get part of this wrong, but I'm going to try to do the best I can. Every night we would come back and eat dinner, I would always eat with Abel. Not Abel. Made that mistake once. Abel. Abel is a minister from Nicaragua that came down to help, or from Panama, that came down to help us. Abel is an interesting man. He works as a security guard, sometimes second, third shift, 5 days a week. Saturdays, he's in school from 6 a.m. to about 7 at night because he's trying to get a degree. I think computers is what his focus is. Then Sunday, he's a minister at multiple congregations that he gets to by boat. And he will spend all day going from congregation to congregation preaching. He gets up Monday morning and goes back to work again. Now, for him to be down there, he had to ask off. He said his vacation wasn't until September. But Alan called and says, I need you. Abel said, I'll be there. He didn't know how, but he's going to try to work it out. So he went to his boss, and he said, I need 2 weeks. I need 2 weeks off. His boss said, Abel, your vacation's not till September. He said, I know. Every day you ask me to come in and do something extra, I do it. You ask me to work over, I do it. You ask me to do anything, I always do it. I've never asked you for anything in return. Now I am. He said, let me think about it. Bill came in the next day and said, well, did you think about it? And he said, yeah, I'll let you go, but you have to work double shifts 2 weeks leading up to the time you leave. Bill said, no problem. So he worked second and third shift for 2 weeks before he came down to Nicaragua. To get to Nicaragua is a 3-day bus trip. He didn't have much money. He didn't have really any money, really. Enough for a bus ticket. He got down there, he said, I knew Alan would take care of me. He said, and I know I'll get money for a bus ticket home. A 3-day trip back home. By the time he got back home, he had to be back at work to pull more double shifts, to get back to studying, and to doing his sermons at multiple congregations. Just dedication. Incredible. But stories like this. I met many people on this trip. And I love to hear everybody's story. So turn with me now to 1 Chronicles. Chapter 22. Verse 19. Now set your mind and heart to seek the Lord your God. Arise and build the sanctuary of the Lord God, so that the ark of the covenant of the Lord and the holy vessels of God may be brought into the house built for the name of the Lord. I love this picture. Chrissy's not here. This is one of her best, I thought. And she took a bunch. Feet leading from the baptistry to the door. Journey. Somebody left that baptistry to go to work. They left that baptistry to go outside that door and make a difference. They left that baptistry with determination. Journey. What's your journey? Have you thought about your journey? Have you thought about your talents? Have you thought about being a soldier, a servant? Or are you just stuck on being the sinner? Can't get any better, you think? What's your journey? How are you going to get there? Where are you going? What's your purpose? That picture says so much to me. Because it tells a story already. And I don't even know whose footprints they are. Maybe tonight you're lost, you're struggling. Maybe tonight you're not real sure what your journey is. Maybe you're not sure where your journey is going to lead you. All journeys have rocky roads. All journeys have ups and downs, turn lefts, turn rights, forks in the road. But what's your journey? What's your purpose? Have you thought about your purpose? Have you thought about your journey? Maybe you're on your journey, you're not real pleased with where you are. You took a wrong turn somewhere, not sure how to get back. Please understand, this is to also ask for your continued support for Nicaragua and why it's so important. But it's more than that. We come back from Nicaragua ready. We're excited to tell you about the trip, but for a whole different reason, because we're different. More empowered, more driven, more determined than we were before we went. We want everybody here to feel the same way. I want everybody here to understand that you all helped us get there. You all helped us do what we did. It wasn't just us. But we want you to feel the same thing we feel when we come back, because it's important. If you need help tonight, prayers, hugs, pats on the back, if you need to change your life, if you need to readdress your life, if you need to change your purpose, we're welcoming. We're ready. And we ask you to do that as we come and stand.